Hi, YouTube. This is Erica from the Company of Cards, back again with some questions for my cards to look at. I just want to welcome everyone, whether you are new or returning to this space. Um, I appreciate you all. I continue to be surprised by the welcome this channel has received, and I'm very grateful for it. If you like what I do, please do like, share, and subscribe. So I want to remind you that on this coming Sunday, which is the 22nd, I'll be going live on YouTube to answer your personal questions. There is no list for putting your questions up in advance. Just come on live with me. It'll be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So do the calculation for your own time zone. 10 a.m. Uh, Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time, and I'll be there for an hour. Probably a lot of people will come, so the odds of you getting your question answered may not be high, but you certainly have 100% chance of watching how I work when I read for people in their real lived context. So, to whatever degree this channel is teaching you something about Lenormand, you can think of this as a terrific lesson that you'll receive on Sunday. And you never know, you could be among the lucky ones who gets a reading. I'll have someone here with me. My partner will be feeding me the questions from the chat. And again, I'll be doing it for an hour. I will be doing it again on New Year's Eve at 4 p.m. Pacific for an hour. So if you don't get your question answered, try again on New Year's Eve. Okay, so I just wanted to remind you of that. Um, okay, now on to the work. I did a reading the other day about AOC and whether or not she would get the top spot on the House Oversight Committee. I predicted that she would not get that spot, that her vying for that contested spot would be undercut, and it was undercut. That was Nancy Pelosi's doing. She had a different candidate in mind, and that different candidate did win. I think it speaks to um, something of a stuckness, we'll call it, in the Democratic Party, a kind of a tone deafness that they really need to address. It's time for some new blood. And as I've said before, I'm a big AOC fan. I donate to her runs, and I think she's a terrific person, and I think she's a great example of that new blood that we need at the top. And anyway, um, I have had several Canadians viewers, and as you know, I'm very fond of Canada and Canadians. But I've had some viewers ask me some particular questions about Canada. So I'm going to spend a little time addressing those now, and then I have a couple of others that have nothing to do with Canada. All right. So um, the first issue has to do with the resignation of Chrystia Friedland, or Christia, however you say her name, Freeland. I remember her back in the day. She was a frequent guest on progressive news channels talking about the economy. She's very smart, she's very likable, and she had had a very close working relationship and friendship with the current Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. And in fact, she, a few years ago, sort of vanished from the airways because she was named the finance minister by Trudeau. Well, in recent days, she resigned because had she not resigned, Trudeau would have replaced her. Now, why would that be? Well, she has spoken publicly about um, the danger that 45's proposed tariffs pose to Canada. Now, Canada, like every place, is going through some changes, um, and and they have to do with financial stuff, housing. They've got a big housing issue there, housing shortage, etc. So one of the things, for example, that Trudeau is doing to al- alleviate or give the impression of alleviating some of the stress on Canadians is that he wants to send out a check during this holiday season to every Canadian who makes under $150,000 a year Canadian, um, a check for 250 Canadian dollars. Freeland objected to that because she said that's going to be expensive. That's going to cost a lot of money. It's a little bit of a Santa Claus move, because, Trudeau is up against the wall. And, Freeland was vocal in her critique of this and other sort of um, shiny, shiny, dangly things that Trudeau has proposed, with Freeland saying that they are economically unsustainable and irresponsible. So we know that had she not put in her resignation, she would have been fired. Now, she is still a member of parliament, um, and uh, so, she's not going anywhere except that she's not the finance minister. This has sent shockwaves throughout Canada because she was one of the ones, sort of, one of the positive forces, I would say, underpinning Trudeau's government, Trudeau's cabinet. Um, so I guess I want to look at how Chrystia Freeland's resignation will affect Trudeau's chances of holding on to power. Uh, so we'll put that to the side. So what we're basically going to look at is Trudeau holding on to power, right? So that background is just helpful to know that resignation was not good for him. Now there is, Trudeau is considered the sort of the equivalent of our Democratic Party or Liberal Party, if you want to call it that. Um, but there is, of course, the opposition. And the head of that opposition, Pierre Poilievre, I think is how you pronounce his name, Poilievre, Poilievre. He is, of course, salivating over Trudeau's endangered status. He is a kind of a Trump-like figure, by the way, in his own right. Um, and so he has called for um, snap elections, like we've seen all over the place, right? Have we not? I mean, we've got France, we've got Germany, we've got South Korea. Um, you know, there's snap elections being called all over the place. Will Canada be doing that? Will they hold a snap election? Because Trudeau's hold on power is quite tenuous, and Poilievre, again, smells blood in the water. So I guess I want to see, first, Trudeau could also step down. So let's look and see what will happen with Trudeau. Now, Trudeau, I always think of him as young because I remember his father, Pierre Trudeau. So I always think of him as young. So we will use the young man card as Trudeau. and just look to see what's around him because he's got all of this stuff swirling. There's other things swirling as well. So let me put those in the mix. Um, no, maybe I won't. I will look at those. There's a couple of other Canadian questions that I'll look at separately. But for now, let's just look and see what Trudeau's trajectory looks like in light of this resignation. There was another resignation, I think, defense maybe minister, I'm not sure. Um, but with Poilievre nipping at his heels, let's look and see what's around Trudeau. Okay. So again, we're going to use the young man card to represent him. Okay, here he is. So this will stand for Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, current Prime Minister of Canada. Okay. So we have the scythe, the older woman, there's Trudeau, the lily, and the ship. I'm going to probably draw some clarifiers on these before I start talking about them, but maybe not because I think there's a short answer. So we have the scythe, the older woman, Trudeau, the lily, and the ship. I might draw some clarifiers on the ship. Um, it looks like this decision made by Trudeau to sever uh, Chrystia Freeland from her job, such that she, before he could do that, resigned, is pivotal because here she is showing up in the line. So, she quit before he could fire her. Here's him in the middle. And, she was, again, she was a great asset to him. She's very, very well respected. I mean, I remember being impressed with her years ago when I would see her, as a pundit on TV. This is the card for, the lily is the card for peace, ease, maturity, looking like you know what you're doing, right? Which she exhibits. She knows what she's doing. But then we have that ship, which makes me wonder whether all of that will pass away. Um, so I'm going to pull clarifiers. I'll let you watch me do that. Yeah, I will say the clarifiers for the ship are the tower, the garden, and clouds. I think that this really will put Trudeau's government at risk. Trudeau himself's success at risk. Um, yeah, it sets him on not a good course. This is his government. This is the public. And this is the public having doubts about Trudeau. I can mirror the very first card, the scythe, right, with clouds. Now you could argue that the clouds are cut by the scythe, but I'm not going to, I don't think that that's right. I think that this decision to cut Freeland out, again, she resigned before he could do that, but he was getting ready to do that, will leave great doubt in the minds of Canadians whether Trudeau is the right person to helm Canada as we move forward into the next era of 45. So Trudeau, as Whoopi Goldberg would say in Ghost, you in danger, boy. Okay. A couple of other um, Canadian questions. So, uh, if you have done any kind of mailing back and forth to Canada, you know it is not the easiest thing in the world to get things to and from Canada. I mean, I have friends in Canada, and and I have people who love my work, my decks, for example. It's very expensive to send things to Canada. I mean, it costs more to send my deck to someone in Canada than the deck costs in the first place. So that's not good. And that's Canada's doing, by the way. So, you know what? On the one hand, good for them, but it's difficult. So, Canada recently experienced a postal strike. The postal strike is now over because postal workers were ordered to go back to work. Now, there is a little dangling carrot, and the carrot was a 5% retroactive raise was going to be given to everybody. So, okay, that's good. But the reader who asked me the question about the Canada Post is, what will be the, again, trajectory of Canada's postal system in 2025? So the card that I'm going to look for, or the card I'm going to use for that is the rider, because the rider, that's the person that generally is on a horse carrying a message. The rider is the card for things like messages, postal stuff, right? So that will be my focus card, and we're looking at the future of the Canadian postal system in 2025. So we're looking for the rider. I always check the bottom of the deck to see if the card is there, because then I can, you know, skip this part of having to flip through the deck. So we're looking for the rider, the guy on the horse. There he is. Okay, this will stand for Canada's Postal Service. Okay. Um, I think I'm going to pull clarifiers on a couple of the cards, but just so you know, here they are. We've got the tree, we've got the fox, we've got the rider, we've got the cross, and we've got the tower. Okay. And before I start talking about any of them, I just want to pull a couple of clarifiers, yeah, on the cross and on the tower. Okay. So, I mean, no shade, Canada, but there are such delays. This is the card for that. Like, it's a slow card. Um, there's just been a lot of delays in the system. Now, the second card is interesting. It's the fox. Sometimes I like the fox, sometimes I don't like the fox. In this case, I don't like the fox because I can mirror it. Remember that we've got the postal service in the middle, but the fourth card I can mirror the second card with, the cross. So I just think that there are bad actors. I mean, we've got Louis DeGeorge over here for our postmaster, and he's a bad actor. Entertainment purposes only, YouTube. But I think Canada's got their own issues. It looks like there's trouble brewing moving forward. They may have done this stopgap thing of forcing the workers back and dangling the carrot of the 5% retroactive raise for everybody. But I don't think that the difficulties are over for for the Canadian Post. Uh, and this last card is government. And it's just, I feel like there's just a heavy, heavy bureaucracy um, gumming up the works. And I think that will continue to happen. I did draw clarifiers. The first was on this cross, which is an unpleasant card as a rule. As a rule, not always, but here certainly it is. I mean, it means more pain for everybody in Canada and also for anybody trying to, you know, send stuff back and forth to their loved ones in Canada. And I have loved ones in Canada. But the clarifiers for the cross are the whip, the ship, and the garden. So trouble, trouble also. This is just disagreements back and forth, probably between the union and the government, the union and the postal service, arguments. And I like the ship here. Um, Ship is things moving forward, right? The mail getting where it needs to get for the sake of the public. But I don't love that these two cards, sorry, mirror each other. And I don't love that uh, these two cards mirror each other. Okay, I drew clarifiers also on this card, which stands for the government. So we've got the bear, we've got the woman, and we've got the anchor. I just feel like whoever is at odds with each other, it's just going to be one paw swipe after another at each other. And that what that does is it makes things kind of stand still in that kind of yin passive way that there's not progress. And then we have this anchor, which sometimes an anchor can keep you safe, sometimes an anchor can keep you stuck. But here I can mirror this anchor with the very first card, this really super slow tree. So, will things get better for the Canadian Post in 2025? I don't think so. I think they might have to get worse before they get better. Sorry about that. Okay, no Pollyanna readings today so far, huh? All right, so I'm just gonna kind of shuffle these cards back in, and then a couple more Canadian questions, and then I'll do some other stuff. So, um, there are, Canada's big, like the US, right? And it's divided into um, provinces, which is sort of the equivalent of US states. And these provinces are led by people kind of like our governors, right? And they have a lot of say, as an American governor would have a lot of say and sway in what goes on in their states. So the two states, sorry, the two provinces I was asked to look at are Alberta and Ontario. So Alberta has decided that they're going to institute their own border patrol. And what this will do will be, well, and they want to make the case that Canada, um, well, it's a border patrol because what they want to do is get out of whatever 45's 25% tariff thing is gonna do to them. So they're trying to get themselves exempted from that. So let's look at whether Alberta's, and I think Alberta's a pretty conservative province, if I recall. Yeah. Um, will their border patrol answer to 45 work? Let's see what we'll use for that. I got to think of what card I want to use. Let me look at my cards. Hmm. Usually I can think right away of what, okay, you know what? I'm going to let Spirit decide. Will Alberta's institution of a border patrol, will that deter 45's imposition of a tariff on the province of Alberta? I am sure 45 would just like to say, listen, forget it. I don't care what states you have, what provinces you have. I'm talking about all of Canada is going to pay 25%. Whatever. You know, he anyway, let's look at whether Alberta's plan will help them. Oh, you know what? Let's do. Yeah, let's use the letter. as the focus card because it's a plan, right? It's probably a written down plan for this border wall or border patrol. Will this plan by Alberta stymie 45's intention to essentially penalize Canada? Okay, so this is Alberta's plan, and I even think I think that the head of their of that province I think is a woman. You know what? Let me look. Let's see. Um, yeah, it is a woman. Okay, her name's Danielle Smith. I thought that was true. So look, this is interesting. We have the anchor, we have the moon, we have the letter, we have the tower, and we have Danielle Smith, the governor of the province of Alberta. Um, Again, I think she's conservative, if I recall correctly. I'm going to say that this will be helpful. Um, it's like holding a hard line against 45. This is the card for reputation. Don't mess with Alberta is the message. For that's the message of her plan. This is her government, and here she is right here. And we know that 45 has the tendency, the capacity to fold like a cheap suit, like a bully does, right? A bully is a bully until they are confronted by another bully. So I think he could he could rethink things, at least in respect to Alberta, as a result of her move. We'll see. Now, the other province that's thinking about you know, having a particular provincial response to 45 is Ontario. That's the province that I know. And what they want to do is they're thinking of withholding all Canadian exports to the US because in sort of a protest against whatever the stupid tariff thing he wants to do. Now, this will specifically affect two areas in the US, the Great Lakes, which do a lot of back and forth business with Canada, and the actual entire eastern seaboard of the United States. So I want to look again, we're going to use the letter again, and what we're going to look at is this plan by Ontario to just cease exports from Ontario to the US. Will that be enough of an arm twist to cause 45 to backtrack? So let's see. Okay. So we're looking at Ontario this time and their plan to cut off exports to the US, which would again affect the Great Lakes states and the eastern seaboard. So here's Ontario's plan. Okay. So the cards are the heart, the fish, the letter, the book, and the young man. I'm going to draw cards on the book and the young man before I start talking about the rest of them. Okay, so remember that the book is things we don't know. So I mean, obviously, that's why I asked the question. What will be the effect? So we have the book, and the clarifiers are Clover, 45, and Bouquet. I think that, this is not something that 45 foresaw, right? That the separate states would do their own thing in response. Again, he sees Canada and he sees it as the 51st state, ignorant, right? Um, so he won't this will come out of the blue for him. He won't expect it. Here he is. And I think that he will, as a result, try to make nice with Ontario. Because again, does he want the Eastern Seaboard and the Great Lakes states to turn on him? I don't think so. So he may make an overture that he will think of as a magnanimous gift. But of course, Ontario will just think of it as, he called your bluff. You know what, Ontario? Good for you. All right. Then we have this young man who is the last card in the original five. And the clarifiers are stars, tower, and scythe. I think that this is it's a very aggressive move if it were to happen on the part of Ontario. That's a young, bold move. This is somebody who steps to a bully. And in future, I think it will show the government to be decisive, strong. Now, here's the thing. I take this scythe, which is the card for decision, and I can mirror it with the very first card. I think it will feel like a knife in the heart to the American regions that it affects. And it's the big joke about Canadians being nice. I mean, I think they're very nice, but it's like it, it's a joke, right? What are different countries known for? Well, Canada's known for being nice. Well, I think 45 has bought that to his own detriment, bought that sort of myth to his own detriment because, Canada's going to be nice until they're not nice. You know what? Good for you, Ontario. I'm just saying. Okay, that's interesting. So I do think in both of those cases, uh, really, because any act by Canada is that 45 will perceive as blowback or stepping to him, etc., he will respond the way a bully does when they're stepped to by another bully. He'll back up. He'll back up. Okay, that was interesting. Okay, uh, and then two more questions. They have nothing to do with each other, but I'm just curious. So, I did the video on the drones, and I do continue to think that they do not mean us ill. However, I do think that they may very well be in response to something that does mean us ill. So I just would like to know, here's where I'm coming from. Many of you may have seen it. There was a video of, I don't know, it was Instagram or wherever, of Elon Musk and his looks to be about 3-year-old son. And it was at a lunch. I'm assuming it was a lunch because it was a formal event. And why would it be a dinner? Because it would be too late for the kid to be up. So it was a lunch. No, it was not a lunch. It was an interview with that crazy Tucker Carlson, entertainment purposes only, YouTube. And Elon was being interviewed by Carlson, and the little boy was sitting on Elon's lap. And it was pre-election. And so Carlson asks Musk, so, what do you think's going to happen? Well, the little kid pipes up and he says, we have Starlink in the sky. And uh, no one will know. No one will know. So then Elon says, well, I've seen the data and I think that things are going to go our way. I think that 45 is going to win. And the kid pipes up again about the Starlink and no one will know. No one will know. So I saw a video by Marianne of Revealing Light Tarot. She's an Australian and she's terrific, who theorized, again through tarot, that what we're all saying about these drones is that they are benign. They're not, they don't mean us any ill, um, but that there's something diversionary about them, she thought. Well, diversionary in terms of what? Well, it's not as though the government has stood still since the election, right? They've been trying to figure out what happened, who hit it and ran, you know, um, what was the nature of the interference? And I don't know. I mean, last night I watched Marianne and then I watched that video of the little boy. And then I had dreams early in the morning before I got up about things in the sky. And um, Marianne thinks that we will get some big news very, very soon that will have to do with election interference being proved and has to do with something in the sky. So, about the speculation that the numbers were tampered with. We know the numbers were tampered with, but I would like to know is there a connection? Well, no, no. What is the connection between these things people are seeing in the sky and Elon Musk? I am not saying that Elon Musk is responsible for these drones. I'm saying that there's a correlation between the fact that there are so many and the investigation that the government's doing about who struck John and ran, who stole the election. So I just want to know, is Musk in the mix? Uh, we'll let him be the young man because he is kind of impetuous and sloppy, aggressive in all of his ideas for things. Let's see, does he have anything to do with the drone thing? Again, I don't think he put the drones up there. I'm wondering whether the drones are looking for or are a diversionary tactic or are part of the government's effort to figure out the role of Starlink. I don't know. Let's just see. So we're gonna use the young man as Elon, and we just want to know, is he even tangentially related to this all of a sudden drones in the sky thing? Again, I do think that the drones are benign. They don't mean us any harm. There's no danger there for us. But I want to know if they're at all related to the theft of the election and Musk's participation in that. Okay, so this stands for Musk. Okay, so I'll probably pull some clarifiers, but here's the cards. So we have the tree, the mountain, there's Musk, there's letter, and there's the moon. Okay, so those are the cards, but I'm going to pull clarifiers. I'll pull clarifiers on Musk himself, on the letter, and on the moon. Hmm. Okay. So our first card is the tree. You know, I'm just going to say that what it makes me think of, and this is sort of a taroistic way of looking at this card, um, there are many leaves, there are many branches, there are many roots, which is to say, this is complicated. That's what I think. This is complicated. It's complicated to get to the bottom of what Musk's role was in all of this. This is his identity. And he's put in place, Musk, as his 3-year-old son told us, he's put in a lot of safeguards and protections to keep us from figuring out all of the complex webs involved in the theft of the election. We've got Musk in the middle. And then we've got the letter. And I always tell you this is the most frustrating thing card in the deck because it could stand for anything written. But I feel like this is evidence that the government has already amassed about Musk's role. Now, again, remember, we're looking at this in relation to the drone thing. I think it's related, but I don't know how. Now, I pulled cards on Musk. I pulled the heart, the clover, and the child. Remember, Musk is impetuous, which is why I picked this younger man to be him. He gets an idea and then he's like, "Ooh," and he doesn't think things through. Okay. He just does what he wants to do because he feels like it, because he wants to. And again, he's impetuous. Clover is that way. And look at this here. There's something childish about him. And then he does have that 3-year-old child who, I mean, to my eyes, kind of gave him away. Interesting that it shows up. Okay, this I am choosing to interpret as the evidence the government's amassing against him. Um, again, news coming in, as Marianne said, there's going to be some disclosure. Well, this would confirm that. That will, I'm going to say, complicate his intention for us as Americans to see him as friendly. Look, I gave you Tesla, I gave you Starlink, I gave you whatever, Twitter or whatever it's called, X, whatever. I'm a good guy. Well, I don't know. I think that the evidence that the government has amassed will bring that into question. Like, are you a good guy, Elon? I mean, we know he's not, but he wants people to think he is. Again, this is him and his reputation. I think it will go sideways, crossroads. I think this will harm him, what we hear, um, and make his role in the White House or bring his role in the White House into question, into question. So I would just say, stay tuned. I continue to think that the drones are benign. Um, they are in the sky, so they are extraterrestrial because they're not on the earth. We are told that they have nothing to do with any foreign government, but that doesn't mean they're not part of our government, but they are up there in space, right? Um, I think they're gathering, well, they're maybe a diversionary tactic as the government gathers evidence against this guy. I mean, Google the thing with his the Tucker Carlson conversation between Elon and him, and watch that little kid pipe up. If you've ever had a 3-year-old in your life, which I have had more than one, they will tell all your business. They will put it all in the street. And I just think there's more than meets the eye to this whole thing, and that we will find out um, before too long. Now, Marianne also said she didn't think Elon would be, I mean, Elon, 45 would be inaugurated. I don't, let's look at that. Just, I don't know. Let's just pull 5 cards, and I'll let Spirit figure them all out. So, will 45 be inaugurated? What does that look like? Let's see. On the 20th. And I'm not trying to be all conspiracy theorist here. I think that I've tried to do the opposite here, actually. But when new evidence comes to light, it's also irresponsible of me not to take it into account and ask the cards with you as my witnesses. So let's just look again at this inauguration and see whether things have changed. Okay, so I'm going to let Spirit figure it all out. Well, you know, we have the heart, we have the whip, we have the ring, we have the younger woman, and we have crossroads. The card that I find particularly interesting in this line is crossroads. It's where things are going along a certain path and then they diverge. The roads diverge, the path diverges, the outcome diverges. Um, this is not my card for Harris. And also, this is the card that was in the center. And so this is the card for, continuity. So it could very well be, I think, that he does get inaugurated, but something could happen after the fact, just saying. Um, I mean, again, stay tuned. It's a wild ride. The energy is incredibly fluid around all of this. I really respect Marianne as a reader, and she thinks there's something odd going on. Uh, and I have to say, when I put it together with Musk and his son telling all his business and putting it in the street, they'll never know that we have something in the sky, yeah, we have something in the, what did he call it? I don't know, something up in the sky. It was talking about Starlink, uh, and they'll never know. And then he gave that little laugh that I'm sure is the same laugh that his father has, the evil genius laugh. Hmm. So just, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Today is the 17th, I think. And that's the day that the election is meant to be certified. So, stay tuned. All right, everybody. Great to see you again. Don't forget about Sunday at 10 o'clock Pacific AM. But I will see you certainly before that. Okay, take care.